I'm going to review more developmental milestones, this time between the age of 2 and 5. So I broke them down into different sections. The first section is pre-writing. At this age, you'll see imitation of a vertical line, a horizontal line, and a circle. Do note the difference between imitating and actually copying. On the VMI, the first little section is having you draw a line and then having them draw a line, which is imitating. And then the rest of the VMI is having them copy the shapes that they see, which is over here in age 3. Alrighty, next up is scissors. At this age of 2, they should be able to load the scissors, open and close them with one hand, and snip at paper. For their grip, at a lower age of about 1 to 1.5, you'll see a palmar supinate. Palmar supinate is just a full palmar grasp and whole hand writing, whole arm writing. Digital pronate is hand pronated down, fingers on the utensil, and writing kind of like that. And then we're going to move on up here to age 3. So at 3, they can do all of these, but they can actually copy it and they can master it. They can do the vertical line, the horizontal line, and now the circle. The new thing here is they're going to start to be able to imitate doing a cross. So crossing that midline of the shape, which is a big deal. For scissors, they can now cut in a forward motion and follow a straight line for about 6 inches. They should also be able to cut out a circle, but this may be about 3.5 to 4, so it may be a little later in the development. Here you may still see the digital pronate because that goes from 2 to 3, and they may progress at about 3.5 to a static tripod. Just remember, tripod is your typical grasp, except it's whole hand movements. So they're not, moving with their PIPs. They're moving the whole hand to write. All right, fine motor. At this age of 3, they should be able to thread large beads, build a 9-cube tower, and build from a mental image. Building from a mental image just simply means, if you think back to the Peabody assessment, if you build a step 1, 2, 3 and then knock it down and ask them to build a step, they should be able to have a mental image of how to do it and be able to do it without having a model to use. All right, and now here I started to add some things about dressing and toileting just to have it on here. So at age 3, a child should be able to put on a pullover shirt, but they're going to need assistance removing it. It's not going to be until we come over here that they're going to be able to remove it by themselves at age 4. At 3, they should be able to pull down their pants. They should be able to put on shoes, but they're not going to be able to manipulate those fasteners, and they may put the shoes on the wrong feet. They can put on socks, but they might not be oriented to the right top and bottom. They can zip and unzip, but they're going to need help with that latch. They can button about 3 to 4 large buttons on the front, but this may come at about 3.5, and they can assist. They're going to need assistance to orient the front and back, so they're not going to know which side of their shirt is the front of their shirt, and they're going to need help with that. For toileting, they're pretty much going to need help wiping at that age of 3. Once we move over to age 4, for pre-writing, they should have mastered that cross. They should be able to master a square, and as well as right and left diagonals. This one's a biggie to be able to do diagonals. But do note, it's not until age 5 down here that they're actually going to be able to put those diagonals together to make an X. Just a side note. Alrighty, back up here to scissors. At this point, they should be able to cut out a square. They should be able to cut out just very simple shapes. And it's about 4 to 6 for this stuff. So it may come at 4. It may come a little later. Grip, you may still see that static tripod, or they might have moved to a dynamic tripod, which again just means they're, moving with their fingers and not their whole hand. Dressing, like I said, at 4, they should be able to put on and take off that pullover shirt by themselves. They should now be able to orient the front and the back of their clothing and put on shoes, but they're going to need help tying. When you get down here to age 5, they can now tie. Alrighty, so let's go over 5. For pre-writing, like I said, at 5, they can put those diagonals together to make an X. They can do a triangle at this point, and they can pretty much dress themselves independently. They can, like I said, tie and untie their shoes now, and independently toilet themselves. At 4, you may also see independent toileting. It comes between 4 and 5.